Hello there my dear friends, and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. So today we are returning to Andor Season 2, and you're probably thinking, well surely there is nothing left to say about it. The show's come to an end, you've made tons of videos, surely there is nothing left to cover. Well, you'd be wrong my friend. In my recent Andor videos, we focused on the viewership. We also spoke about new reveals from the creatives, how the show's been received and the impact on things like Battlefront 2, and I even spoke about freaking Bill Burr's reaction to it. It's been one heck of a ride, and I love covering the show with you guys. But with that excitement, with the resurgence of the Star Wars brand in recent weeks, there is also a slight underbelly of despair. Not just because we love the show and we didn't want it to come to an end, but with Disney slashing budgets left, right and center, it might be a hot minute until we have another live-action show of this quality. And even Tony Gilroy admitted, if you were to make Andor in 2025, it just couldn't happen. With the budget cuts, with the decline in viewership and subscribers on Disney+, it just couldn't happen on the same scale. But we have hope. Rebellions are built on hope. And as fans we can dream. We have our fan fictions, our speculations, our theories, and we can talk about this masterpiece until the cows come home. And a couple of weeks ago, I made a video talking about the future of characters like Vel, Kleya, and Ghorman. How I don't think we've seen the last of them, even if Lucasfilm takes a few years away from these characters. Even if they think they're done for now, I want to see them again. The most likely place is the Mandoverse. I know some fans are averse to this. The writing quality might not be on the same level as the Gilroys. But that era, post Return of the Jedi and before The Force Awakens, holds so many possibilities because it's such an expansive period of time. And by that point, the rebellion has won, the New Republic is founded, and just like Cara Dune before her show was cancelled, there are Rangers of the New Republic. And this is where we come on to the main topic of this video. One of the central messages of Andor Season 2 is how under a dictatorship, or in this case an imperial regime, truth is malleable, propaganda prevails, and so citizens are more easily brainwashed. And there is one character from the Tony Gilroy show that everyone is overlooking, and yet she had a hidden monologue that no one is talking about. And the aforementioned character could be very important to the post-Return of the Jedi time period, after the destruction of the second Death Star, Dreena. Wilmon Pack's girlfriend, and a witness to and survivor of the Ghorman massacre. How does she play into the New Republic further down the line? Let me explain. I was trying to piece together how these characters could fit into Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's Mandoverse, and it dawned on me that Dreena has a lot in common with Cara Dune, and because Gina Carano's character doesn't seem like she's returning anytime soon, in a really strange way, Dreena could be Cara Dune's replacement. Not in the sense of being a one-for-one copy, I'm not saying she has to be the muscle of the group, I'm not saying she has to be Din Djarin's best friend, but in terms of what she represents, her backstory and what she might become, Dreena would fit really well into the role Cara Dune was about to play in the scrapped Rangers of the New Republic. At least from what we've heard. Because Cara Dune's main motivation was to get back at the Empire for what they did to Alderaan. She lost everything and everyone she loved, and so did Dreena during the Ghorman massacre. They do share a common pain and I suppose vengeance, if you want to call it that. And that pain, that anguish and loss could be a similar driving force all those years later post-Battle of Endor. Because by that point, there are still remnants that need tracking down, and potentially escaped prisoners. Imagine if Dedra Meero escaped, and she was working with the Shadow Council, hiding from the New Republic. I have floated this possibility about, and if for whatever reason she were to escape the Narkina prison she's in, and to roam free post-Episode 6, Dreena should be the one leading the mission to get justice. Because all those years ago in Andor Season 2, Dedra had a big role to play in the Ghorman massacre, and Dreena would not have forgotten. And here's the thing my friends, we often talk about how amazing different speeches and monologues were in the show. Mon Mothma's Senate speech, Saw Gerrera's Rhydonium-fueled babble, Nemik's manifesto, you name it, there have been quite a few. But there is one which I haven't heard a single person talk about, Dreena's broadcast. This was in Episode 8, her plea for help, begging for anyone in the galaxy to receive the transmission and realize what is happening on Ghorman, an event that was entirely twisted by the Empire's media outlets. Luckily, Mon Mothma brought light to it and founded the Rebel Alliance. But if you take a look at the transcript of Dreena's speech, it is utterly horrifying, it's heartbreaking, it's emotional, and Ella Pellegrini gives the performance of her life. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to do my best. It's not going to be as perfect as the way she did it. But look, I'm just a Star Wars fan, appreciating this amazing work of art, and I want to bring light to it. This was her broadcast in full. Palmo 1. This is Palmo 1. This is the voice of Ghorman. This is Palmo 1 making an emergency broadcast to all open channels. We're under siege. We're being slaughtered. The Imperial murder of Ghorman has begun. There are hundreds of bodies this very moment. As I say these words, hundreds of murdered Ghormans lay dead in the Palmo Plaza. Thousands more in the streets. More every minute. We're being destroyed. This is Ghorman reaching for any open channel that can hear me. If you believe in truth, if you have any faith left in truth, please mark this message and pass it forward. This is murder. The Empire built this fire. They made this fire and led us to our slaughter. Now they expect us to die without knowing why. The conspiracy we feared is real. It's here today. Imperial ships are already landing. Help us. Is there no one who can help us? That is such a powerful broadcast, and I don't know if you noticed, but there are some parallels to what Mon Mothma later says. In episode 9, when she makes a stand in the Galactic Senate, she paraphrases the part about truth. Because look at the way the massacre was reported. The Ghormans were made out to be these wild protesters, these feral beasts who supposedly provoked the real victims, the Imperial troops. There are so many parallels to real massacres and genocides in history, and how under authoritarianism, the narrative is skewed. Notice the way they talked about the stormtroopers being the heroes, and the Ghormans being these evil aggressors who are not following the law. And Dreena's broadcast brings to mind the Hungarian resistance broadcasts when the Soviet Union crushed the revolution of 1956. So like Tony Gilroy said, the parallels aren't just to what's going on in the world right now, but also inspired by revolutions and uprisings of the past. But the bit about truth is essential to note. When you control the narrative, truth is malleable. It's whatever the narrative needs to be to uphold the fascist regime. Mon said, the distance between what is said and what is known to be true has become an abyss. Of all the things we risk, the loss of an objective reality is perhaps the most dangerous. The death of truth is the ultimate victory of evil, because when you look at the situation on Ghorman, suddenly a genocide is a justifiable action against people who've been othered and dehumanized. Mon says, when truth leaves us, when we let it slip away, when it is ripped from our hands, we become vulnerable to the appetite of whatever monster screams the loudest. And we all know who that is. So Dreena truly understands what it means to lose freedom, to lose your planet, to lose your people, to be oppressed and then be told that what happened on your planet was a lie, that your truth isn't the truth of the one man who controls the entire galaxy. And that's why I think she should lead a mission during the age of the New Republic, specifically against remnants who were complicit or linked to the Ghorman massacre. And I just want to take a moment to appreciate the level of detail that went into crafting the Ghorman scenes. Esquire did a piece on how the Ghorman language came about, how it's inspired by French, but also was crafted in a very similar way to the Minion language. They also did an incredible amount of mapping. They crafted the positions and movements of every character in those scenes. This series deserves every award it's gonna get, and I hope you guys enjoy these kind of videos.